we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel.
Welcome to episode 98 of Joel the Podcast.
Yeah.
We are nearing the big 100 coming up in a few weeks.
That'll be monumental for sure.
Monumental. I first wanted to apologize to all of our listeners for the delay in the recording of this podcast. I think I mentioned that I was on vacation last week, and this week we had other stuff we were doing up until today. We're recording on Thursday. I don't know when it'll get released, but so our apologies, but also get over it.
We should probably emphasize right away that both of those things is no one's fault in particular.
It's no one's fault. Absolutely right.
So I think we're all in agreement there.
Yes. I wanted to start off by reminding everyone that Nathan does not owe me $1.
Alex does not owe me $1.
And that reminds me that we forgot to talk about sports beforehand.
Ooh.
So
we
let's.
have two options, which is either limit our actual sports discussion to 1 minute, or just revert to the old sports format.
1 minute, and if we want to talk about it more, we can do it afterwards.
Okay. This will be
interesting. Here we go. Ready?
Sure.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, ending Tampa Bay's 4-month long championship drought.
Didn't they win the Stanley Cup last year too?
Yep, and the Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl. Well, good for them.
The NBA Finals is going on between the Suns and the Bucks. Suns up 1-0 as of now.
I think they play tonight, so by the time the podcast is released, that'll be different. Or maybe they don't play tonight, and I'm just making that up. There are some Bucks fans at work, so I hear some discussion about it, but I don't pay that much attention.
And the MLB is approaching its All-Star game coming up next week, maybe? I think.
Baseball season is just so long.
It is quite long. But already Shohei Ohtani, who's both a batter and a pitcher, has 32 home runs, which is absurd for this point of the season. For anyone, not just a pitcher. All right.
Your video froze, so I thought we still had 15 seconds left on the timer.
Rip.
What a shame.
Well,
that went better than expected.
Yeah, we covered a lot of news.
For no preparation.
It's probably better than some of the ones we've done with preparation. So right. There's your Sports Minute, everyone.
Yeah.
Did we get any emails this last 2 weeks or so?
You know what? I'm pretty sure we did. Let's
Excellent.
Let's take a look and read through those. Okay, so June, let's see. This is the one that I forwarded to you. So we definitely discussed that one. So it must be this email from June 29th, 9 days ago, as of the recording of this podcast. Let's see. Last Tuesday, you're right. So this email comes to us from Cephalopod Master, as always, but absolute shock. The subject line of this email is catapult.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what he's referring to here. Maybe there's a catapult that's a dumbass? That's my best guess.
Let's hear the body of the email.
Alright, let's get back to that. Here we go. Hi, Alex and Alex at Joel the Podcast. Excellent greeting, by the way. And then he sends us this link, which for the listeners out there is https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=S J U. I think this is an L, but it could also be a capital I. CV capital T, capital A, 7, capital Y. And again, that's a link, so we can click on that. And in fact, I will do that right here.
Turn my video so I can see it.
All right, we're gonna quick watch an ad, I guess. Nope, skip ads. Get out of here. Not now.
Scott the Woz.
This is the channel Stuff Made Here. The video is called 17,875 pounds of tools to make this. It's got 2.7 million views, which is a lot of views. Oh, that's neat. He's got like a wrist-mounted catapult. He's got this kind of springy catapult. He's got a little box. He's got a basketball hoop, which is not a catapult.
How long is this video?
This is a 33-minute video, so we're gonna just go ahead and stop that here and go back to discussing the email.
The first 30 minutes of this podcast are actually watching this video,
narrating the whole thing. Okay. So on the next line here, he says, "This guy made 9 catapults, and it reminded me that I still haven't heard about Nathan's own catapult. Please spend an hour working on the catapult." Oh, that's kind of neat. The Gmail email client just embedded the little YouTube video. Can you see this? It's just right here.
I see it.
So thumbs up to Google for integration, I guess, and thumbs down to Google for a bunch of other stuff. But okay, so let's dive into this. This guy made 9 catapults. That's a lot of catapults, but it also seems like he has 17,875 pounds of tools, which in my defense I do not have, so I'm going to go ahead
How many pounds of tools would you estimate you have?
I'm going to estimate that I have, at most, 17 pounds of tools.
Right.
Just to make the math easy.
You would be expected to make 1/1000th of the amount of tools or the amount of catapults that he's made.
Exactly, which is 9 1/1000ths of a catapult in the same amount of time it took him to make this video. And you know what? I can almost certainly guarantee that I've done that.
Yeah, no, that's for sure done already.
Yeah, so really, thumbs up to me, pat on the back for
hold on.
Being so good at making catapults.
I don't know about that. You have to keep in mind that you've been making this catapult for 7 years now.
Well,
sounds like this guy probably took less than 7 years to make his 9 catapults.
I'm sure he did. But did he take 7 years divided by 1,000 times to make his catapult? I don't know.
Let's see.
If somebody wants to do the math out there, including the Stuff Made Here YouTube channel guy. In fact, maybe we'll go leave a comment on his video. How long from start to finish? Asking for some very important math for a podcast.
Turns out that that length is 2.5 days. So if he made it in 2.5 days, if he made 9 catapults in 2.5 days, then it would be equivalent to you making 1 catapult in 7 years.
Well, I haven't finished it either, so.
Right. So I'm saying, right. Yes.
Let's just.
In your estimation, how much of your catapult have you completed?
I mean.
By the way, listeners, I still contend that this catapult will never ever be finished.
Well, I mean, we're gonna get to that because David asked me to spend an hour working on it, which I have in fact done.
Nice.
So just looking over my it's right here, by the way. I had it out since I was working on it. And what I can definitively say is that most of the catapult is done, except for all of the electronics.
Right, that's minor.
And maybe 25% of 35% of the hardware.
So. You really oversold it with the. It's almost all done.
Well, I mean, it looks like a catapult.
How much electronics are you putting on there?
Well, it's gonna have a Raspberry Pi to control it.
So also you have to write the software too.
So I have to write some of the software. I wrote years ago a library to control the motors if I wire them up correctly.
Uh-huh.
So I can just reuse that, and basically the entire code is just turning motors until it hits limit switches. So it's
right.
I'm not even counting the code. The code is basically done, even though I have barely started it. It's essentially done. And when it comes to the electronics, I essentially, really, it's like 30 minutes of putting it on a breadboard and it'll be done. Or alternatively, about, 2 to 3 hours of designing a printed circuit board and then ordering that from China.
Right.
And, like a couple weeks while it ships over here.
Right.
So, all pretty minor in the scheme of things. Considering the scheme of things is, as you've pointed out a couple of times, 7 years. That number can't be right. I don't think that's right.
You started it before we arrived at Purdue, right?
No, I started it over one of the summers. I started it over the summer after freshman year.
Okay,
which
so
would
this
have been
is now
the
summer after 2 years after we graduated. So it's been 5 years then?
Oh, okay, so only 5, and that's even better, right? Because that means he would have had to spend. No, that's worse. He would have had to spend less than 2.5 days working for it to be equivalent.
Right.
Well,
I mean, it's better for you if he's, because whatever amount of time
you're
spent,
right. It is better. That's a good thing.
Yes. Let's do the math here real quick. It's probably not that different.
No.
1.33 days, 1 1/3 days.
Okay, and I'm willing to guess. I mean, in fact, we could just go back and look at this guy's YouTube channel. And let's see. This video was uploaded on June 29th, which is when David sent us the email. The video before that was uploaded May 31st. So let's be like incredibly generous and say that he completely finished that video and then made the entire other video in 29 days.
Well, I mean, making the video is part of the thing, so it's like not all of that is working on the catapults. How
much do you think it is? Like 40% video, 60% catapult?
I really know literally zero about this YouTube channel, so it's almost impossible to say how much actual time they spent. Like, is this just a hobby thing they do? Is this their actual jobs? I don't know. How many people were involved? So I would say that it's almost impossible to speculate, but the bottom line is they've finished 9 catapults and you finished 0 catapults.
I've finished a good 60% of a catapult, not counting software.
0. So,
all right. That's the kind of rounding you want to do. I guess I can't argue with that.
You don't have a usable catapult right now, so you've made 0.
Okay. Well, aside from the things we've already, I get the sense from this email. I've already mentioned that I spent an hour working on the catapult this week. In fact, I spent much more than 1 hour.
Nice.
But the email here says he hasn't heard about my catapult. I assume he wants like some kind of progress update other than I did in fact spend an hour.
We pretty much just provided the update, so there you go, David.
All right. That's that. Email us if you want more details or perhaps 8 more catapults.
That'll be another 45 or 40 years to get those 8 catapults.
Yeah, no promises after catapult number 1, but although you have your doubts, I am fairly certain that at least that one will be finished.
All right. I guess we should probably start the episode now that we've talked about the catapult for 12 minutes.
Well, it was necessary. It was from an email. We also have another email, so not so fast.
Oh, excellent.
Although I think it's going to be pretty quick to talk about. We got this email 38 minutes ago.
Nice.
Also from Cephalopod Master. Also, surprisingly, the subject line of this is episode 98, 99. Again, no mention of dumbass, but he says, what happened to episode 98, 99? Who do I blame for the delayed upload? I mean, pretty...
As we said, no one.
Right. Pretty quick response there. So...
We appreciate your, I guess, enthusiasm. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. Diligence.
Diligence is good. I like diligence.
We appreciate your interest in our upload times, so Thank you, Cephalopod.
Right.
Okay, should we start the podcast now?
That was the, as it was received 38 minutes ago, that was the most recent email we received, so we can move on.
Alright, so, as we are not original in the slightest, we'll be doing another episode of advice. I just realized we're wearing the same shirt.
Nice.
I lost my train of thought. We're doing advice as always. These are real problems emailed to us by real people whose names we'll be protecting. If you want to find out advice on something in your life, send us an email. Alex and Alex, you can find our email on our website, alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.websites/index.html. And a little flubbed it up at the end there, but made it through. So, yeah, let's just dive right in. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let's see. I'll go ahead and take this first one. So who are we receiving this question from this week?
This one is from Andrew Glotzbach.
All right. Well, Andrew Glotzbach.
Shout out to Andrew Glotzbach, by the way. Congratulations.
Yeah. So Andrew asked us, my 10-year-old son is addicted to Minesweeper. He plays for 16 hours a day and won't ever leave his room. What can we do to get him to stop? Okay,
so let me just say something before we actually answer the question, which was I saw the question before I picked out Andrew's name, and I just saw 10-year-old. I didn't, and so because in my mind, back when I met Andrew, he was a wee lad. He wasn't 10, but he was a child, and now he's less of a child, but. In my mind, he's still a child. Anyway, that's why. That's. Sorry about that, Andrew. I know you're not listening to this, but whatever.
0% chance he ever hears this.
Yeah, that's exactly. So on to the actual question. 10-year-old son won't stop playing Minesweeper. How do you get him to stop? I mean, how much is he playing? 16 hours a day? Okay, that is an actual
16
problem.
hours a day. I'd say there are two ways we could address this problem. Number one, obviously, it's not ideal to be playing Minesweeper for 16 hours a day. Like, for one, I guess I don't know, it can't possibly take that long to play a game of Minesweeper.
Right.
So he must be playing over and over, and I guess in my opinion, once you've done a bit of Minesweeper, you've essentially exhausted all of the interesting possibilities that you can encounter in Minesweeper, right? It's not really a game that lends itself to
replayability,
yeah, just absolute binge playing like
except
Andrew's
the evidence would
here.
disagree with you in this case.
In this case, you're right. So I guess maybe I'm not the best person to speak about advice here. But since we are people speaking about advice,
when I was 10, I had probably, I don't remember exactly, but at most 1 hour of computer/TV time per day.
Yeah.
So I would start with the fact that you're letting your 10-year-old son be on a computer for 16 hours a day, or a phone, or whatever he's playing it on. I think that's probably not great.
I would agree with that. I guess the question is, in that case, like, what do you... Is that the problem we should be going after? Like, how do you stop someone from being on a computer for 16 hours a day?
Well, as a parent, most of the time your kid will just, if you tell them not to do something, they will listen to you, and if not, there are ways, like, if it's a computer, you can password protect it with the password they don't know. It's a phone, you can do the same. Like, my sister's phone has, like, a screen time limit, so once she uses it for a certain amount, she has to get, parental permission to use it more, so you could do something like that. Physically take it away if it's like, if you don't want him to use it at all, So there are definitely ways of preventing him from playing longer.
This is all sounding like very reasonable advice, but not to say that I disagree with absolutely anything that you've said. I think, for the record, that you're essentially right. But what if, for some reason, what if you can't take the computer away? Like, what if 16-hour days is desirable?
Right.
And they're just upset
so
that he's doing only Minesweeper.
What if you don't care that he's on his computer for 16 hours a day? You just, for some reason, have a problem with Minesweeper.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be honest. If he's not playing Minesweeper, he's probably, like, annoying you by trying to, like, get you to do stuff with him, and
he's probably trying to bond with you as your as your child. That's so annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's go a step further. What if we do want to allow him to play whatever he wants for 16 hours a day? We just don't like the fact that it's Minesweeper.
Right.
Well, at least I would guess in whatever version of Minesweeper he's playing, there's some kinds of settings you can edit while he's asleep to make it either harder or easier depending upon how good he is. And by that I mean, if he's bad, make it harder. If he's good, make it easier. So that it's just generally less fun. You could buy him a new game. Hope he plays that instead.
Yeah.
Send him a link to Toss the Turtle, which is a fun game.
What is Toss the Turtle?
It's a Flash game that I played many years ago. Basically, you shoot a turtle out of a cannon, and you have to try and get it to go. And you have a gun. This is gonna sound really bad, but you like shoot the turtle to make it go further. And the turtle can run into various obstacles, or whatever the opposite of an obstacle is that helps it go further along the way to change how far it goes. And then based on how far it goes and various things that it can run into along the way, you get money, and you can upgrade your cannon, and you can give the turtle a jetpack, and you can get a better gun and things like that. And then it goes further, and you get more money, and upgrade more stuff. So it's one of those games. So
wow,
there is a bit of blood in the game though. So if you don't like that, maybe don't send.
Yeah, maybe not the best recommendation for a parent who's concerned about their child playing too many games. But maybe not.
Well, I mean, in this scenario, you're not concerned about them playing too many games. You're just concerned about them playing Minesweeper. Because this suggestion is that if you want them to stop playing Minesweeper, get them another game. Send them another, try to get them to play something else.
True.
But yeah, actually, if you don't want to make it a rule that he can't play, but you do want him to stop playing computer, invite him to play games with you, or if he has any siblings, try to get his siblings to play with him, or his friends. Invite his friends over. I mean, maybe they would just play on the computer together. I don't know, but it's worth a shot. Sign him up for some sports or other activities that he would be off the computer for. I don't know. You got anything else?
I I mean, honestly, I haven't been listening to you for the past minute or two because I just looked up Toss the Turtle, and this is a solid game. I'm gonna throw my endorsement behind it. I don't really understand the shooting the turtle part of it. Like, I feel like I'm just shooting the turtle and it's having little to no effect.
Right, well, that's because in the beginning of the game, you just have a slingshot, which is really bad. You have to get a better gun for it to be more helpful.
Oh, so I should go to the shop.
Yes.
Let's see. Wow. All right, I'm going to close this tab before we completely derail the podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's your advice for that question. Let's move on to the next question.
Cool.
Who does this come from?
This question is asked by listener Turtle McTossington.
All right, Turtle McTossington writes, "Hi, Alex and Alex. So last week I went to the movies by myself. I had heard your advice about making the popcorn last until the end of the movie, and I did exactly what you said. I threatened the concession stand worker with a baseball bat, and then I didn't touch my popcorn throughout the entire movie.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, that exposed a minor flaw in the plan. I didn't get to actually enjoy any of the popcorn. Is there a strategy that will allow me to both enjoy the popcorn and have it last till the end of the movie? If not, what's the longest I can make it last while still eating it? Thanks, Turtle McTossington."
So this is an interesting question. I guess I'm confused why they didn't get to enjoy the popcorn. Did they just throw it away at the end?
Well, I mean, this is just an assumption, but I would assume that what they meant was they wanted to eat the popcorn, enjoy it during the movie. Like, what, at the end it's not warm anymore. You're kind of about to, like, be driving, you want to enjoy it during the movie. Is, I think, the idea.
No, I'm not willing to admit any flaws, but that does sound like a reasonable concern.
Right. Well, yeah, for the record, this is not a flaw in the plan as described, because the only goal of the plan was to make the popcorn last till the end of the movie, which it did. So this is just like kind of an additional thing that he wants to have happen.
Yeah, and you know what they say, you can't have your movie last nope, you can't have your popcorn last until the end of the movie, while also eating the popcorn before the end of the movie, because then the popcorn will be gone by the time it gets to the end of the movie.
I don't think that's an expression.
I've heard it once or twice, probably. So
I've heard it once now.
Yeah, there you go. Wow,
that's very wise advice and very applicable to this situation somehow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that is 100% the answer to this question. But just in case the listener is not as enlightened as we are, maybe we should elaborate a bit further.
Well, I have an idea, and you can. I assume this wouldn't work for some reason, but I can't think of it. So you have to tell me why it wouldn't work. What if during the movie you ate one piece of popcorn and then didn't eat the rest?
That actually is a really interesting possibility. And I think you're right. Like, my immediate reaction is like, of course not. No, this'll never work.
Right. But then I can't think of a reason.
But just playing through that. Yeah, you sit down. The credits start to go. You pick up one single piece of popcorn, right? And you put it in your mouth.
Yes. And
like the movie starts, and you chew on that popcorn, the one that's in your mouth.
Right.
And then as the movie goes on, you pick up some more popcorn and put it in your mouth. And you do that until you reach the end of the bucket. And then you're at... See, there's the problem. You reach the end of the bucket, and then you're out.
No. You actually strayed away from the actual plan. So, remember, after you eat the first kernel, then you said that you eat more. You actually don't eat those other kernels. You don't eat that other popcorn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you start the movie starts, you don't eat the popcorn. The movie continues, you don't eat the popcorn, you get to the end of the movie, you don't eat the popcorn, and then you've got the popcorn.
You went the other way. It went during the movie, after it starts, before it ends, you eat one piece of popcorn.
Uh-huh.
So like, remember, so you said movie starts, you don't eat it. That's correct.
Right.
Then you said the movie's going, you don't eat it. That's not correct. You actually eat one piece in there.
Oh. So, okay, so you eat the movie, credits, nothing. Movie starts, nothing.
Right. Nope.
No?
Movie starts, you eat one piece.
Movie starts, eat one piece. Movie continues, you eat no pieces.
No more pieces beyond that one piece.
No more. You've already eaten one, so you eat no more.
Right.
You reach the end of the movie, and you look down at your popcorn tub, and there's presumably still some popcorn in there?
Yes, because this is assuming that you've been given more than one piece of popcorn by the concession stand worker that you threatened, which I think is almost a guarantee most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. I think you're almost certainly right there. So, like, I would say at least check before you eat your one piece of popcorn. Let's see.
Right, yeah. Check to make sure you have more than if you only received one piece, I would just go back to the concession stand with the bat and be like, "What the fuck is this? This is one piece of popcorn."
Yeah, obviously threats worked the first time around, so I would
obviously they didn't work that well.
Well,
bring a second weapon just in case.
Right. If you have two bats, presumably you'll get at least twice the amount of popcorn.
Right. And again, that's all you need. All you need is two pieces of popcorn.
One to eat and one to not eat. I mean, even as I'm saying that, for some reason I feel like this just won't work. So
yeah, and here's my issue with it. Actually, is not that I can think of a specific flaw in this plan, but when I say this plan, it makes me think of extending this plan to eat n-1 pieces of popcorn so that there's one piece of popcorn left at the end, right? And that I know wouldn't work, for sure. There's no way that would work. And so the fact that I can logically go from this plan to that plan means something's not correct in here. So
right.
I really can't place what it is though.
Yeah, I mean clearly that you're violating some basic axiom of mathematics when you try and eat popcorn during the movie. So
right.
Have to say, unfortunately, sorry, but we really nailed it the first time around. I don't think there's much we can do for you here.
Right. So the answer is there's two questions here. Is there a strategy that will allow you to eat it and last to the end? No.
Right.
So if not, what's the longest I can make it last while still eating it?
So I think the only thing we can reliably say is that from the time you put the first kernel in your mouth,
right,
you've got, let's just estimate here, about 10 seconds for you to chew and swallow that kernel. And then beyond that, it's, anybody's best guess, because again, you can just generalize the problem.
Right, it's sort of like an infinite series,
right,
which we know can be condensed into a finite amount of time.
Right.
So I would say that, I guess it's not an infinite series since you don't have an infinite amount of popcorn. I'm sure there's some kind of mathematical thing here that if I was smarter I'd be able to say, but suffice to say that it's going to be somewhere between 10 to the negative 6 seconds and 1 minute is my guess.
Right. And I think that's the best you can really do here.
Yep. All right, so there you go. Turtle, Mr. Tossington, McTossington, or whatever his name was. Let's go on to the next question.
All right. We need another fake name for this listener. What do you got?
Candy Cane. First name Candy, last name Cane.
First name Candy, last name Cane. All right. Let's see. This year, at my family's 4th of July gift exchange, my aunt once again gave me a can of Sloppy Joe sauce. This all started 6 years ago when she got me the first can of Sloppy Joe sauce, and not knowing how to respond, I said I liked Sloppy Joes. The problem is I do not like Sloppy Joes. What do I do with all these cans of Sloppy Joe sauce? And how can I tell my aunt to give me different gifts without hurting her feelings?
Wow, this question is like... As soon as I got to the part where they said they didn't like the Sloppy Joes, I was like, that is a twist.
Plot twist of the century.
They told the aunt they liked Sloppy Joes, and they actually didn't. That is unbelievable. First of all, I would say hold on to the movie rights to this story. This is... As soon as our podcast comes out with a story on it, I guess we don't reveal your real identity, so...
Right.
We can probably sell these movie rights. Alright, we'll hold on to the movie rights for you. We'll keep them safe. Definitely won't sell them unless it's for a good amount of money. Okay, but as to the actual problem, so you told your aunt... Oh my god, I'm just reading this again. You told your aunt that you like Sloppy Joes, but you actually don't.
Right.
Like Sloppy Joes.
And the thing is, that means, 6 years worth of gifts here have just been terrible gifts.
Right.
How do you recover from that?
I think that the only plausible move here is to... Okay, here's what you do. Ready? Step 1, invite your aunt over to dinner.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Step 2, make Sloppy Joes.
Okay.
Step 3, you need to make yourself violently ill somehow.
Oh.
Off the top of your head, what would be the best way to do that?
I think you could start with the 6-year-old can of Sloppy Joe sauce. Just chug that real quick before the dinner.
Sure.
If that doesn't do it, just keep going with the cans until it does. Best case scenario, you use up all the cans. Problem solved.
Well, only part of the problem solved because they still will be receiving Sloppy Joes going forward. But hopefully this next part of the plan will solve it as long as you're able to get sick. If the Sloppy Joe sauce doesn't do it, maybe some raw eggs, find a beetle and eat it. I don't know. But either way, you need to get ill. Okay, step 4. This is actually supposed to happen before step 1, so make sure you do it before step 1. You have to hire someone, an actor, or maybe just a friend who you trust to not be terrible at this, to act as a doctor and rent out a building to look like a doctor's office and hire a bunch of extras to walk around the doctor's office so it doesn't look suspicious. Then, when your aunt sees you're ill, you ask her to drive you to your doctor, and so you drive to this fake doctor, and he tells you you're allergic to Sloppy Joes now.
Oh, okay.
And so, and at that point, you're in the clear. Your aunt heard from someone who she thinks is a doctor that you are allergic to Sloppy Joes, and so she will not get you any more Sloppy Joes, and you won't hurt her feelings either.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. You're there at the doctor's. I'm just imagining this moment. Your aunt takes you to the fake doctor, who comes into the room with his clipboard, and he's looking over the notes.
Oh, a clipboard! That's a great idea. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, just imagine this. You can see. The listeners can't see, but I'm currently holding a clipboard.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think it would even be a good idea if he had a lab coat, like a white. I was thinking he would just show up in his regular clothes, but he's probably much more convincing with a lab coat too.
Hello there, I am a doctor. Make sure he says that at the beginning, so your aunt is reassured.
Make sure he says he's a real doctor, otherwise she might think he's a fake doctor.
We need to come up with a doctor name real quick that he can use.
Dr. Smith.
All right, Dr. Smith, Dr. Joel Smith.
No.
In fact,
it's Dr. Smith, with that pause in there.
Okay. Hello there. I'm Dr. Smith, and I am a real doctor.
Too quickly, she might be suspicious.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't think of that. He's got his clipboard. For dramatic effect, you've got to do one of these. Peek underneath the top paper, and then he just shakes his head and he says, "Son, I'm sorry. You're allergic to Sloppy Joes." And then you've got this brilliant moment where you can really seize the spotlight and have a really
absolutely
dramatic reaction to this. Oh, I'm devastated.
Just fall onto the floor wailing.
I can never eat Sloppy Joes again.
The good thing is, as I said, this isn't a real doctor's office, so you can just alert the extras not to, bother you if they hear you possibly screaming or whatever about how you can't have sloppy joes anymore.
That's true. And then at the end of your fake breakdown, you just turn to your aunt and say, "Aunt Kane, I don't know what you're gonna do. You've got to find another gift for me for our 4th of July gift exchange."
No, what you actually do is you say something like, "I know how important it is." This is while you're, crying, obviously.
Of course, yep.
"I know how important it is for you to, get me sloppy joes each year, and even though I can't eat them anymore, I will still love to get them from you." And she'll say, "Oh, no, dear, don't even worry about it. I wouldn't think of giving you sloppy joes now that I know you're violently allergic to it." And so that way, you still seem like the good guy.
Yeah, no,
right?
That's...
Like, she's the one offering to give you something else.
That's good. That's really good. I cannot see a single way that would go wrong.
Yeah, me neither. All right, so now that that's an airtight answer, there you go, Candy Cane. Let's go to the next question, which comes to us from...
Tequila.
What?
Tequila.
Tequila, like the drink?
Like the drink.
Okay. Here we go. Tequila says, 2 days ago, I saw a bird. I really liked it. It was red and made a sound like this. Ee, ee, ee. It was named Joel. Unfortunately, it flew away after a few minutes. How can I find Bird Joel so I can capture him and keep him as a pet?
This is a really good question. The first thing that comes to mind, I don't know if you had this thought as well as you were reading this question, but that perfect rendition of the bird sound would actually be excellent bait to play over a speaker outdoors to try and lure the bird in.
Right. And actually, I was going to ask you this because the reason I know how the bird call sounds, because obviously it's very difficult to do it perfectly after just hearing it described in an email.
It's just with text, yeah.
Right, is that I've actually met Bird Joel before.
Oh, that's...
and so I was going to ask if you've ever met Bird Joel.
No, I have not. This must be an East Coast listener then sending this.
Yeah.
So, well, that's fun. Have you? Was it recently?
No, it was 15 years ago. So.
Okay.
I remember it. It was one of the most defining moments of my childhood. But yeah, it's been a while. So Joel Bird could be anywhere at this point.
Right.
Joel Bird Joel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so other than this perfectly reconstructed bird sound from a 15-year-old memory, I guess you should probably look into some sort of bird software that can artificially age a bird call by 15 years. Right. That would be my guess. Is for the most realism here, you might not trick Bird Joel with the exact recording.
Right. I think another important component you're going to need is a very, very long net. And if you walk around with it high in the air, there's always a chance that Bird Joel will accidentally fly into it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you could just play the percentages here. I mean, the bigger your net, the more likely you are to catch Bird Joel by mistake.
That's true. Absolutely.
Also, if you travel around more quickly, you're also increasing your odds.
So it sounds like the best strategy is to drive around with a giant net attached to your car.
Right. I would for sure agree with that. If there's one maybe optimization we can try and make, it would be to hire someone to stand inside the net. That way, if there are any birds that get inside that aren't red, obviously this person doesn't have to know Joel the bird. They can just be trying to filter out all the non-red birds. They can just throw them out of the net.
That's an interesting thought, but what if Bird Joel is wearing a disguise. Because when I met Bird Joel, actually, he was green. So I think he was wearing a disguise to meet this person.
Okay,
Tequila.
so it's possible that Bird Joel is actually green, and was just wearing a red bird costume. So maybe, yeah, I mean, honestly, and that just saves you money anyway, right? Like, no need to hire a person to
Right.
filter through birds.
But you could hire a person to drive the car for you, while you sit in the car with your head out the window, looking up at the net, so you can tell when Joel is caught. I think that would be a good optimization.
Yeah, that's definitely an improvement there.
Let's see, what else could you do?
You might as well play on your car speakers the bird recording sounds
right.
now.
Yep. Another strategy you can do, this not necessarily compatible with the car strategy, but you can dress up like a female bird and hope that Joel shows up looking to mate with you.
That seems incredibly likely.
Yes. Sorry, that seems incredible. That was well delivered.
Is there anything else we can even say about this?
I think between those two plans, you're almost certainly guaranteed to catch Joel the bird.
Yeah. I would be interested, for scientific purposes, if you were to hire a friend to do one of these strategies while you did the other one, and then you could see who gets to catch Joel the bird quicker.
Right. The only problem is, do you trust your friend not to keep Joel the bird for themselves?
Yeah, that's important. How do you? Here's what you need to do. You need to hire a bird to pretend to be Joel the bird, to be caught by this person, so that you can kind of, like, live action see what would happen when they catch Joel the bird.
Right.
So you can kind of go through a trial run.
Have you ever hired a bird before?
Personally, I have not, but I can't imagine it would be that hard.
Really? Because I was actually wondering how you would even do it, considering the fact that birds don't use money or speak English.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume you would just go to the bird union and, present your credentials, I assume. You're probably going to have to get your credentials in order first.
Do they speak English at the bird union? I've never been before.
Well, they're also birds, so I guess probably not.
So you'd probably have to learn bird language.
Okay, yeah, so get your credentials, learn bird language.
Or just hire an interpreter, I guess. It's probably the easier way.
You've got to really vet your interpreter, because they might hear that you're looking for Joel the bird and tell the birds in bird language to give them Joel the bird, thereby also stealing Joel the bird from you.
Good point.
Yeah.
Maybe just learn the language yourself then. That's safer.
Definitely safer. Okay, so let's see. You've got your credentials, you've got the language, you've gone to the bird union.
Right. You need something to pay the birds with.
You've got to be able to pay the birds. Birdseed, maybe? I mean, I feel like a lot of people just leave that out for free, so...
Right. I mean, I don't know a lot. I'm not a bird expert, but I would say that, some eggs. Birds love eggs, I've heard.
This could become like some kind of hostage exchange situation.
Some worms. I've heard birds like worms.
Worms for the positive reinforcement, eggs for the negative reinforcement. I like that.
So those are some possibilities.
Yeah.
If they don't want worms or eggs, I guess you're kind of shit out of luck. Yeah. As far as hiring a bird, and you can just, put a kibosh on the whole hiring a bird to see if your friend is trustworthy, and therefore also put a kibosh on the hiring your friend to complete the other plan, so you can see which one will go faster, and just do both plans yourself.
That's That's a fair point.
All right, we're at like 50 minutes, so let's keep moving here. This next question comes to us from Texas. No, not Texas. Oh, that would be really racist. Tex McNapkin. All right, there you go.
Tex McNapkin. I cannot possibly think of how that was going to end as racist, but all right, Tex McNapkin. Here we go.
Have you ever seen the Jake and Amir sketch Table Read?
Yes, I think so.
Do you remember the main character of Amir's the character that Amir wrote, the main character of that sketch?
I remember the general idea.
That was what it was going to be. All right, go on.
Tex McNapkin. Yesterday, I bought a potato plant for... Nope, what did I just say? Potato? No, it's tomato.
You said potato.
Okay. Yesterday, I bought a tomato plant for my garden, and when I checked on it this morning, all of the leaves were completely gone, leaving just the stems. This has happened to me multiple times, and I have no idea what causes it. I'm sure the tomato plant is going to die since it has no leaves, but I really want tomatoes. How can I ensure my plants keep their leaves for more than one day after I get them?
Simple. Tape the leaves on. Next question.
Wow.
Just kidding. Not really next question, but that is my first answer, which is tape the leaves on. Would that work? I'm not a plant expert.
Yeah, so my initial thought here. I do have a lot of plants. We have a lot of plants.
You have way more plants than anyone needs, by the way. Or at least way more indoor plant. Like if you have an outdoor garden, that's one thing, but like having all these plants indoors is unnecessary. All right, go on. Actually answer it now. That's probably true.
So I have heard of this happening one other time, and initially the thought that everyone goes to is like, oh, some animal is eating the tomato plant.
Right.
And that's obviously ridiculous, right? Like what kind of animal eats just the leaves and leaves all of the stems perfectly intact? So, obviously this is not an animal. What's actually happening here, or at least what was happening in the one other case, is the person was sleepwalking outdoors and picking all of the leaves off of their plant to make a salad. And then eating the salad while still asleep, and then going back to bed.
Okay, so taping the leaves on is going to do jack shit here.
Potentially. I mean, it's definitely a good idea, because if you can tape them up well enough that your sleepwalking self can't figure out how to untape them, I mean, that may be all the security you need.
So I guess the first thing you should do is determine if this is the same cause.
Right.
And really the only way I can think of doing that is setting up a motion-activated taser next to your plant so that if you're sleepwalking and you approach it, you'll get tased and wake up.
That's got to be the way, yeah.
So assuming you do find out that this is the problem, I would say that you've already got your solution. Motion activated taser wakes you up if you're about to take the leaves off. So that's that. All right. So what if you find out it's something else? What else could possibly cause this? Not an animal, not you, sleepwalking. Could it be that the plant is depressed and is cutting its own leaves off?
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely something I've never heard before and doesn't seem very realistic, but I think we definitely need to consider it here.
Sure.
How would it dispose? I think it would be kind of obvious if all of the leaves were just kind of at the base of the plant, right? So like how do you think it was disposing of the leaves?
Honestly, that's what I assumed when I initially heard the question. But if they're not there, then it's probably just cutting them off and leaving them in the bathroom. So, like flushing them down the toilet.
Okay.
Wow, that made zero sense. They probably blew away in the wind. I don't know. But assuming this is the problem, what's the solution? Do you know any plant therapists?
I have heard. I'm an amateur plant therapist myself.
Of course. It'd be really expensive to get therapy for all your plants.
Yeah, I mean, it really. I don't tell the plants this, but like, I don't care enough about them to pay all that money for this.
They're right. There's some plants right behind you. You know that, right?
Ah, crap. Well,
these ones are fucked, I guess.
they're just gonna die. So the thing to do here, which is actually really counterintuitive, because normally with human therapy you want to be like supportive and encouraging,
right?
But with plant therapy, it's actually far more effective to threaten them, because they can't run away from you.
Right, to be verbally abusive.
Right. So counterintuitively, you can make your plants not depressed by just shouting obscenities at them.
Right. Sounds like fun.
Yeah,
maybe I should become an amateur plant therapist.
It's really therapeutic for both of us. So me and the plants, I mean. So
right.
And even if the plants aren't depressed, it's always worth a shot. Just go yell at your garden.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. Actually, I don't own any plants, but it's good to know that if in the future I ever do, I can just yell obscenities at them to make sure they're not depressed. That is a very clippable quote. All right, let's do one more. Oh, you finally got the update. All right, let's do one more.
Yeah, I did. I saw a little symbol down there.
Who does this question come from?
Oh man, I forgot to think of a name. This question comes from Fake Name.
Okay. Fake Name writes, last week I was at a wild party and long story short, my uncle died. As it turns out, he was indebted to the mob pretty heavily, and in an unfortunate coincidence, I look exactly like him. So, when the mob showed up at my door to collect on his debts, I killed every single one of them, John Wick style. It makes me wonder, though. Was he actually my father? Do I even want to know? I could probably break into the morgue and steal some of his DNA to confirm for sure, but I'm not sure if I should do that. What should I do? Please advise. Thanks. Fake Name.
Before we get into this, do you remember? I can't remember if this was actually like recorded as part of the podcast, but do you remember that movie we came up with, which was John Wick but for seagulls?
Yes, and that was part of the podcast. That was the one Ben was on. Remember?
No.
The first 30 minutes of the movie are just studio intros and advertisements. I can't believe you don't remember. This is one of our top 10 clips from our initial top 10.
Nice.
But yeah, that was episode Ben was on.
Nice.
But yeah, it's John Wick, but for seagulls. And every oh no, wait, maybe that wasn't that. No. The one Ben was on, that was the one where every actor was Johnny Depp.
Was that a different thing?
Oh, that was a different thing. No. That one was like space pirates or something. I don't fully remember.
I thought this all just morphed into one thing.
It was something like that. Now, the seagull one... Wow, I really don't remember when we talked about that. John Wick, but for seagulls. I'm sure that was on the podcast. Somebody go find the episode. And by somebody, I mean not us.
That's got to be one of the really early ones.
Anyway, let's actually talk about the question.
Yeah, so... what are the actual questions here? Was he my father? Do I want to know? Should I break into the morgue and steal some DNA?
Right.
Let's see. Was he actually my father? I don't think we can really answer that. That's what the rest of the question is about.
Well, that's not really a question to us. There's it's what he's wondering. It makes me wonder, was he actually my father? And so the actual question is, do I want to know? Should I break into the morgue and find out or not?
Okay, well, let's I think when you're making any kind of decision, the first thing to do, especially, for a decision of this magnitude, is just try and list out some of the pros and cons of making the decision. So, like, number one, let's say, pro of breaking into the morgue and stealing DNA from a corpse that's easily going to be like top 5 story at any party you go to. Instantly you will make more friends by having done that and being able to talk to people about it later.
I mean, it's possible. The thing is, the fact that he just killed every single mob person that showed up at his door to collect on his uncle's debts means that I think he has more interesting stories than that already.
Okay, yeah, no, that's definitely a fair point. I kind of forgot about that already. That was intense. So, let's see. So was his somebody of this level of skill? Would he be descended from somebody who is in debt to the mob? Like, I kind of find that unlikely. I feel like your ability to deal with mobsters is pretty genetic, right? Like, he seems to be incredibly effective at dispatching mob members.
Well, we don't actually know that the uncle was not effective at this. We just know that he was in debt. Maybe they hadn't tried to collect on the debt yet, and if they had, the same fate would have befallen them.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I mean, let's just go ahead and say that's a pro, but maybe not like a big pro.
What's a pro?
The story thing.
The interesting story?
Jumping
minor pro, you have an interesting story to tell.
Right.
Minor con, you might be arrested and go to jail.
Exactly. Minor pro to the minor con is jail might help you with your mob connections.
Okay.
Because clearly you've now got a lot of street cred for killing a lot of members of the mob.
Well,
you might have an in with a rival mob.
Right, I was going to say the opposite, which was that if you're in jail with members of this mob, they might be unhappy that you killed a bunch of their, fellow members. And so it might be dangerous. I guess it probably wouldn't be dangerous for you. But
given your track record. I mean, let's chalk that one up as pretty neutral then.
So right, let's call that a neutral. Here's a con. Dead bodies are gross.
That's true. Dead bodies are gross. And this was last week too, so it's like a week-old dead body.
Right.
And I mean, obviously there's not much elaboration here, but the body died at a party, so it was undoubtedly a very gross death.
Yeah, it just says long story short. So
my uncle died.
Okay, so that's a con. Pro, you would know whether your uncle was actually your father.
Potential
is that
con,
a pro? I guess we should discuss whether that's a pro.
I was gonna say the potential con side of that is your presumed father still in your life? Like,
right. I would say, it's better to find out for sure than to just wonder forever, right? I don't think this is something you're just going to be able to let go if you don't find out for sure is the thing.
Yeah.
So I would say that's definitely overall a pro to find out, even if it turns out that he was actually your dad.
Right. I mean, yeah, that could definitely be tough, but on the bright side,
normally people say something after they say on the bright side.
Well, I feel like we ended up with more cons than pros.
I don't know about that. I think we have 2 of each right now.
Okay.
And one neutral.
Well, how about this then? Let's break the tie. Let's break the tie with another pro. You will. Oh boy, this is.
Here's a pro. By whatever genetic testing you're going to do, you can also find out additional fun information like, what ancestry you are and whether you have any genetic diseases and things like that. And any also long-lost relatives or whatever. So that's a pro.
Might be a bit of a bummer if it's kind of the disease stuff, but I suppose it is better to know than to not know.
It's better to know. Yeah, there you go. 3-2, the pros have it. And that's pros as in the opposite of con, not as in professionals.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely break into the morgue and steal his DNA and check if he's your father.
Let us know how it goes. That sounds like fun. So,
all right. And with that, why don't we save the remaining 4 questions for another time? And good. Call it a podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We really enjoyed it. If you wanted to comment on our podcast or ask us a question yourself or literally send us any thoughts that you have at all, you can do so by sending us an email. I already mentioned the website. So yeah, I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been
Joel.